James party in early Christianity, the people making problems over legal issues, that it's a code word, if you want to call it that, so it doesn't necessarily mean the Pharisees that we're talking about always. In any case, as you'll see, the Pharisees like to portray themselves as the popular party in Judaism of the Second Temple period, and that's what he's picked up here. But I don't think they were. And if you read your Josephus carefully enough, you'll find that the people never listened to what the Pharisees want to do. For instance, the Pharisees are against the Maccabees. For instance, the Pharisees want the people in 37 BC to open the gates to Herod. Gates of Jerusalem, to open the gates of Jerusalem to Herod and his Roman-sponsored army. The people don't do that, they resist. In 63 BC, when Pompey besieges Jerusalem, he has Pharisee help. And the Pharisees slaughter the other party more than the Roman troops do. That's all in Josephus. And the people are obviously behind the people resisting in the city of Jerusalem when Pompey comes and takes Jerusalem in 63 BC. And then finally, in the uprising against Rome in 66 to 70 AD, the Pharisees want to go out. They're called the Peace Party in Josephus. So nothing on the peace. I'm just trying to explain why the Pharisees are not the popular party that they advertise themselves to be. Because you have to judge by what the people do. They go out again, invite the Roman army into the city. But the people resist and destroy that Roman army. Josephus himself is a Pharisee. All those desirous of peace, and most of them are what would be considered to be, in that context, traitors. And for instance, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, founder of rabbinic, so this is stuff you never hear. You'll never hear any rabbi tell you this. And you'll never hear any of these people like Ahad or people like that talk about these things. They've all got the propaganda line. There's nothing wrong with it, but it isn't true, that's all. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, since I'm old now, I don't mind saying these things. Nobody else ever said them very much, so might as well say them sometime. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, I've never met a Jewish person in my whole life who ever called Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai a traitor, but he is. What's the heroic moment in the Talmud of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai? He has himself smuggled out of Jerusalem in a coffin. That was the only way you could get out of Jerusalem in those days, because the Zealots had control of the city and the people supported the Zealots, not him. They resisted to the end. And I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying, I'm just trying to get the history down. Be fair to these people, not to destroy the sacrifices they made. And then the Talmud says he had an arrow shot into Vespasian, the Roman commander's camp, saying, Rabbi Yochanan is one of the emperor's friends. This is the future conqueror of Jerusalem, destroyer of the temple and the city, and the builder of the Colosseum, and so on and so forth, with money they took from the temple. As I told you in the early part of this course. How is that heroic? That's what the Rabbinic Judaism, that's the founding moment of Rabbinic Judaism, where he gets the academy from Vespasian at Yavne, sometimes called Yavne, well, I'll just do it like this. B's are B's, Y's are J's. To study Judaism. That's what he gets, and he applies the Messianic prophecy to Vespasian. You've heard about the world ruler prophecy. It's in Josephus. He says that the thing that most moved our young men to revolt against the Romans was the prophecy that the world ruler would come out of Palestine. That's Numbers 24:17. A star will rise from Jacob, a scepter to rule the world. I don't take these prophecies personally very seriously myself, but they did in those days. He said that's what most moved, so the revolt against Rome was a Messianic uprising. In any event, to show where he stood, Rabbi Yochanan says, you are the world ruler that will come out of Palestine to rule the world. You, Vespasian, before Nero is killed, and before Vespasian fights the other generals to take over the empire. That's one of the things that encouraged Vespasian to do it. because being superstitious and so on, like Roman commanders were, when he saw these Jewish prophets all telling him that he was the one that was going to do this thing, as they obsequiously played up to him, he was encouraged to do this. That's not the only reason, I'm sure, but it's one of the things that encouraged him. In any event, what would you call that? Treating with the enemy and saying the conquering general is going to take over applying your most precious prophecy to his destruction of your people? Oh, well, that's the most cynical, traitorous thing you could possibly do. That's celebrated among Jews everywhere as the founding moment of rabbinic Judaism. Well, I don't want to get into arguments with fellow Jews and so-called my people or whatever, but, because you're never going to win these arguments, they're going to hate you for it. So I just try to keep it quiet, but it's my last term here, so I don't mind saying it. But the fact of the matter is that is not heroic, in my view. That's not what I call heroic. It may be wise, it may be discretion, it may be the proper, if you're going to lose, you might as well get something out of it or whatever. But that's not, I'm glad I wasn't there because I wouldn't have known what to do myself in situations like that. I don't want to heap abuse on it, but I won't celebrate that as a heroic moment. Anyway, that's the founding moment of rabbinic Judaism. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai is the key figure in the founding of rabbinic Judaism. And it's his cooperation with the Roman authorities. Later they become the Roman tax collectors in Palestine. So I don't want to go into all that. I'm just arguing with Ahad. You see why I don't like him. Not that I don't like him as a person. I don't like his view of the world because I don't think it's very sophisticated. I think it's the usual, what you hear, it's been told, and it's not very deeply questioned or thought out. But in any case, let's leave him at what he's doing. But he says here then that so he's right about that they did, but they represented the prophetic conception of Judaism. Are you kidding me? The prophetic, this has nothing to do with prophecy and rabbinic Judaism and the Pharisees. It's just total nonsense what he's talking about. The Dead Sea Scrolls are all full of prophecy, so is Christianity, but not Phariseeism. They don't even hardly read the prophets. So he says, so far as turning away from life and ostracizing the state, they stuck to their post in the thick of the fray, made every possible effort to save the state from moral degeneration. That's what he's worried about. And to shape it and conform it, there it is, the spirit of the times, the zeitgeist. They're all captivated by this zeitgeist. There's a new play opening up in New York, in Lincoln Center, by Tom Stoppard, another Hungarian Jewish writer, went to England, which